Hey guys, K-Man of Smugface Entertainment here. So, Xmen 97. The first two episodes are in the bag. And I have to say, it's brilliant. And judging from what I've been seeing online, the reaction to this follow-up series to the 90s X-Men show has largely been very positive. Now, the show is only 2 episodes deep, so this is just a short video with my thoughts so far. When the show wraps up after the 10th episode season finale, I will then do a more full-on review. Now, there was a lot of hype following the release of the trailers, and then there was some skepticism when it was revealed that the character Morph was non-binary, and then suddenly it was as if the show was dead on arrival. However, following its release on March 20th to Disney+, it has been a very nice and pleasant success so far. The animation, in my opinion, is a very nice and sleek modern update on the animation that was used in the 90s show. Now, I have heard over and over and over again that the animation for that show was bad. Now, personally, I thought it was fine. It didn't really bother me. Well, until the 5th season, when it was all too obvious that the budget cuts meant lesser quality animation. Times are different now, and the X-Men are under the ownership of Disney with access to bigger budgets, which in turn allow for much better and much improved animation. So the show keeps in tune with the 90s show immediately when the intro begins, and it is the iconic X-Men theme with an almost exact replica of the character sequences of the original intro, with the obvious updates with Magneto, Morph, and Bishop now in the lineup. The show picks up straight after when the final episode Graduation Day left off, with the X-Men continuing the fight against mutant oppression without Charles Xavier. Jean is pregnant with Scott's baby, whom is later named Nathan. Now, more on that in a little bit. Some old X-Men foes in Bolivar Trask and Henry Gyrick, the man responsible for Professor's demise, resurfaces, and they're more intent than ever on mutant control. Now, like I said earlier, this is just a short video on the show, so I will go into more detail when the current 10 episode season concludes. Now, these are some of my takes on what I've seen so far. Spoilers, just for your information. Cyclops appears a lot more of a leader this time around, and he feels a lot more in charge now than I think at any point during the original run. The addition of Bishop to me feels a little random, and there isn't too much in the way of an explanation as to why he's suddenly a part of the X-Men, when in the original run he is actually from the future, so why is he all of a sudden here? I mean, that's one to think about. There appears there could be another love triangle on the horizon, and this time it isn't Cyclops, Jean and Wolverine, but Gambit, Rogue, and Magneto? Magneto and Rogue do have a history in the comic books, so this is another one to look out for. Jubilee looks like she could be having her own little romance with newcomer Sunspot, who appears to be quite the character, so to speak. Magneto is now running things as Xavier left everything in his will to him, which I find strange because why not any of the X-Men, and in particular Cyclops and Jean as they were founding members, or Storm as she's one of the experienced leaders of the team. Now, he appears to be honouring Xavier's wishes despite being severely tested as we saw in episode 2. Now, there are already 2 shocking moments already. The first being Storm being shot by the Executioner and seemingly losing her powers for good, as Beast heartbreakingly tells her, which leaves her heartbroken and leaves the X-Men. The second, and even more shocking, is right at the end of episode 2, when somebody bells at the door at the X-Mansion, and who appears but Jean. But wait a minute, isn't that not Jean over there? Ooh. Well, to follow from something I said earlier, Jean and Cyclops gave birth to baby Nathan. Now, in the comic books, Nathan grows up to be Cable, and he is the biological son of Cyclops and not Jean Grey, but Madeline Pryor, a clone of Jean Grey. Now, there's a lot more to that story, but I'm going to save it for another time in another video. So as we saw another Jean right at the end of this episode, who's the real Jean and who's the clone? And does that clone turn out to be Madeline Pryor? Very, very intriguing. An excellent cliffhanger, and one that I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Quick thoughts on the other characters. Now, Wolverine is cool, but moody and brash as he's ever been. Beast is, well, Beast, as we remember him. Gambit is still the low move, but also the charmer. But what's going to happen with Rogue given all the stuff with Magneto? That's another arc that I'm looking forward to. And speaking of Rogue, she seems every bit the Southern lass from the 90s show. Jubilee has not had a lot to do yet, but hopefully as the show progresses, she'll have her own little story arcs. Morph has maintained his sense of cheekiness as we saw in the original show, and him morphing into other various X-Men characters is actually a pretty cool thing in my book. Bishop, like Jubilee, has not had a lot to do yet, but I'm hoping for a more proper explanation as to why he's here and he's suddenly a part of the X-Men. And does he plan to return to his own timeline? We'll see. Now obviously there's no Professor Xavier, although he does appear in the opening intro. So you have to wonder, does Charles come back or healed? Again, time will tell. Now villain wise, there's only been the Sentinels, Master Mold, and the Friends of Humanity armed with Sentinel tech, which made them an even bigger threat than usual. Now with only 8 episodes to go, who else from the X-Men's Rogue Gallery do we see? Sinister we see very quickly during Morph's intro, so does he make an appearance in this run? How about the X-Men's greatest foe, Apocalypse? Does he make a return? I mean, he did come back from the dead supposedly in the 5th season of the X-Men, so again, another one to look out for. Does Magneto snap and return back to his old ways of hating humanity and wanting to see mutant liberation? So many questions and so little time. Now the voice acting is very good in my opinion. Now I'll mention just a few of the standouts. Cal Dodd as Wolverine is cool, and I'm very pleased that they brought him back, but at times he does sound just a little bit off. I mean, he hasn't voiced the role in over 30 years, so it's understandable if a little bit jarring. Alison Seeley as Storm sounds exactly as she did in the 90s show, as does George Boozer, who was Beast. Ray Chase does a splendid job as Cyclops, taking over from the late Norm Spencer, who was the original voice of Cyclops. Jennifer Hale as Jean is spot on and perfect casting for this role, replacing Catherine Disher, who was the original Jean Grey voice actor, but she does have an appearance in this show as Dr. Val Cooper. Lenore Zann as Rogue keeps that southern charm, but like Cal Dodd, at times she does sound a little bit off. But again, it's been over 30 years since she voiced that role, so it's understandable. Newcomer Matthew Waterson as Magneto does a very good job replacing the original late voice actor David Hemblen. Final thoughts. I love the animation. As I said before, it's very smooth, very sleek, and it's very engaging to me. The action sequences are cool, they're top notch, and very entertaining. The show has an edgier, darker tone to it than the 90s outing, and the final minutes of episode 2 definitely raise the stakes in terms of drama. There is edgier language as Wolverine says the word crap, and I think the word kill is used once or twice. This would not have been allowed in the Fox network back in the 90s as it was primarily a kids show. So it's nice to have this edgier and more adult tone without going too far forward in the way of violence. I think the tone and the setup as it is the right path to take. Now we are only 2 episodes in, and already it looks like it's going to be a hit, despite some of the skepticism from, Morph being non-binary and all that. The tone has been set, so hopefully they continue with it, and I personally am looking forward to the rest of the show as the season unfolds. X-Men 97, 8.5 out of 10. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and if you want to see more, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.